Hey y'all, what's up? It's your boy Evan. Welcome to the Cartoon Block. Today I'm going to show you guys how to draw your character holding a gun. Get back here in a few seconds and we'll get started.
So today we'll be starting out using the Prismacolor Cool Erase red pencil. So our first step is to draw a square. It doesn't have to be a perfect square, just do the best that you can and sketch it in very lightly. Next we're going to cut the square in half horizontally and vertically. Then at the top we're going to make a large triangle in the corner and then a smaller triangle at the bottom. And then we're going to be adding a triangle in the upper right square. This shape right here will represent the thumb of the hand. And we're going to connect that triangle with the other triangle that we drew earlier in the upper left corner square. And in the middle of that upper left square, you're going to add in the butt or the butt palm of the hand. And now we're going to go ahead and make the thumb in the shape of like a trapezoid almost. Now we're going to go ahead and start putting in the handle for the gun. You're going to start in the upper corner of the square and then go down to where it cuts in the middle of that lower tiny triangle that we drew earlier. And the other part of the handle will begin in the upper square and then come down through the middle diagonally below the lower square. And we're going to connect it at the bottom and make it a little bit darker so we can see it. That looks about right. Now moving on to that lower right square, we're going to add in the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. All three of these fingers will fit inside this square, so you won't have any guessing of where they go. The middle finger will be the biggest in the square. Then we're going to add in the ring finger, a little bit smaller, and then the pinky will be the smallest. And they're going to be hugging around the gun handle. And then getting ready, next we're going to go ahead and draw in the trigger finger or the index finger. It lines up in the middle of the upper boxes. So you simply draw like a little rectangle out here and like a backwards letter D. We're going to be seeing just the tip of the finger here. Yeah, looks good enough. Now moving on, I'm going to start darkening in certain lines that I want to keep. Let's get started by drawing in drawing a fingernail on the thumb. When I draw my fingernails, I tend to just draw maybe like 1 or 2 lines to just indicate that the fingernail is there. It looks kind of tacky or just bad when you draw the entire full fingernail with a dark line around it. And gonna go ahead and still put in some dark permanent lines that I know I want to keep and draw over my sketchy lines. And some of the wrinkle folds in the thumb here, make sure that they overlap. And that gives you a sense of depth. And moving on down to some details in the gun handle. I may be kind of getting ahead of myself right here. I really shouldn't be putting in hard details yet. I think I'm kind of breaking my own rules. But coming along quite nicely. I want to go ahead and give the gun handle a certain curvature or design. And now moving on to my HB pencil, we can go ahead and start putting in some more permanent, thicker lines on the middle finger, ring finger, and the pinky. Notice how I'm giving it more of a realistic curve or curvature. Now for the knuckles, we want to go ahead and cut the ring finger in half right here and the index finger. Both of these will be cut in half. And for the pinky, we're going to go ahead and cut it like in 2/3. these lines will indicate where the knuckles will go. And once I have it about right, then I'm going to go ahead and put in like a slight curve, and this curve will show depth. It will show that the fingers are bending somewhat around the handle. And for the outer contour shape of the fingers, I don't want to draw them simply going straight across. Once again, to give it that more sense of realism or depth, you can see that I'm drawing them slightly at an angle. So you don't want to draw the line straight across, draw them at a slight angle. And then more of the knuckle detail I want to put in here. Going to erase some lines so I can see myself, see myself drawing the correct parts that I want to keep. And nothing's wrong with that. When you have too many lines, simply erase and just keep the lines that you want. It's good enough that I have a ghost image of what I want to keep down here. And once I get done with the pinky finger, I want to move on to the trigger finger, I like to call it. Trigger finger sounds so much more cooler. And I'm going to go ahead and flesh out that letter D a little bit more and then add in the actual trigger. And notice I'm drawing not the full trigger. I'm keeping some of it hidden behind the index finger. And this overlap once again shows some sense of realism or believability. I'm sorry I'm using my little short pencil. Let me switch to a bigger pencil. With the short pencil you guys couldn't see me draw. So, and now I'm putting in more of a contour shape for the index finger. And then moving on to the nails on the middle finger. You don't have to draw the full fingernail. Just keep that in mind. If you want to, by all means, it's your drawing. Go ahead and do it. But I'm just letting you all know how I put them in myself. And you can just put in these little two lines, like a half of a square. And before I move on to too much detail, let me pull out my kneaded eraser. And I'm going to clean it just by stretching it out of shape. I'm going to roll it up. And now it's time to erase some construction lines on it. Take out all these sketchy lines and rough lines that I don't want to keep anymore. And the wrist, I'm going to erase that for now, and I'll worry about that later. Not sure if I want to keep this here just yet. But the wrist isn't too thick. Don't want to draw thick wrists on your characters. And I'm going to quickly put in a little bit more shape in the gun handle. And I'm going to jump back up here to the gun barrel just above the trigger. And it's just a straight line across. And it rests, the body of the gun rests behind the thumb. I'm going to get the chamber up here. This won't be a gun tutorial, guys, so it's strictly a hand holding a gun. And get the pin, just lightly putting in simple basic shapes, nothing complex. Now I want to start putting in some cool stuff on the gun, which is the grip texture on the handle. Let me erase this bottom down here. I highly encourage you guys to look up photos of real guns to get their accurate looks. Now I want to make sure that the hand is more convincing grabbing the handle of the gun. So I'm going to go ahead and cheat it and make the handle a little bit bigger. The pinky was looking like it was a little bit too floating out there in space. So just cheat your drawings and just make the handle bigger. No one will ever notice the difference. No one will ever look at your drawing and say, oh, that's not right. As long as you make it look believable, the viewer will believe it. Now I want to go ahead and put in some more of this detail and kind of just make it more visually appealing. So I'll start by cross hatching ever so lightly, and take your time, just stroking it across. And now I'm going to go the opposite way, but I'm going to leave some open space in the middle. That will indicate a highlight, or where the light shines on the handle. And to make it even more believable, just erase it out. Now I'm going to jump back up here towards the trigger, and this little cage or part, who knows what the name of this part of the gun is called, the part that houses the trigger house. I'm not sure. If you guys can let me know in the comments below, that would be awesome. And just going to flesh this in here and just make it up. Like I said, this is not a gun tutorial. It's just want to focus on the hand for today. And get this down here. And it's the only piece that separates the trigger finger and the middle finger. And now I'm going to put a few wrinkles in for the wrist and a few shadow lines on the tendons that we all have in our wrist area. Yeah, makes it look nice. A few more render lines or wrinkles on the fingers and the palm. Just some slight details to kind of pretty up the drawing. At this point, I'm just having fun. I'm going to change up the shape of this thumb here, make it a little bit more believable by putting in a few wrinkles in the joint area. Yeah, that's coming along quite nicely. And I'm going to redo the fingernail here. I wanted to have a little bit more of an angle, so I'm going to take off the straight line that's at the top part and just make it diagonal. And it's these little small tweaks and curves in your drawing that make the drawing appear two-dimensional. You don't want your drawing to be flat. I'm sorry, this makes your drawing appear three-dimensional, not two-dimensional. There we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some shading down here for the thumb area, the palm, and this can make your drawing pop off the page. And on the front knuckle area around here only, this makes the hand have depth, and a little bit of shadow on the bottom. There we go. And I'm going to show you guys a cool trick you can use. After you put your shading down, you can erase out the bottom part of where the shadow falls, and that will give you reflective lighting. At this point, I'm just simply making the drawing pretty. We're done with the tutorials. You guys could have stopped a while ago. So it looks pretty good to have these little small dressings on your drawing. And just darkening in certain areas. And I want to make these wrinkles in the thumb a little bit more defined. That gives it more depth as well. And just darken in the outer lines. Now I'm going to quickly throw in a shadow on the wrist area to make the whole piece seem a little bit more complete. And there you have it. That's how you draw a hand holding a gun.
If you missed my last tutorial, bam! If you want to learn how to send me your artwork for me to review, bam! Watch that video. And don't forget to bam! Subscribe. Till next time,